Hey, what is going on, people? We are back with another review video. Today we have a lot of cards to review. I've been a little bit behind on reviewing the All-Star cards and the Immortals. We're gonna do the All-Star cards today, and we're also gonna be reviewing these new monthly rewards that just came out for the month of June. We're gonna do those first, so I guess, yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into it. Okay, the first card is the 85 overall Blake Treinen, and I'll be honest with you, this is the only card that kind of intrigues me out of this monthly reward crop. There are a lot of solid cards in there, don't get me wrong, but as far as cost to benefit, I think that this is probably the best value out of all of them, because you can acquire him through the ticket counter for only 2,400 tickets. That's not that bad at all, and he is a really solid reliever. First of all, his per nine's very solid. You know, his walk per nine doesn't, he's a reliever, walk per nine doesn't really matter that much, but then he has phenomenal stuff to go along with some really intriguing pitch selection. He has a big-time sinker that has a ton of break on it. He has a good slider, good cutter that you can kind of tunnel with each other. I really like doing that with the Kenley Jansen, kind of tunneling a slider off of a cutter, you know, like throw the cutter on the outside corner and then kind of break them off with a slider. There are a lot of opportunities to do that with this card. And then if you ever just want to blow it by them with heat, you've got a 98, 99 mile an hour fastball to get that done as well. This is a very intriguing card, and in my opinion, one of the only like upper tier relievers that is acquirable right now through the ticket counter. No stubs at all required. You can just get him straight through the ticket counter, and that's a pretty valuable card in my opinion. So I ended up giving him a fag of an 8.2. Okay, next up we have the 85 overall Jesus Aguilar, and obviously the first thing that stands out about this card is he is just a monster at the plate, and for good reason. The guy hit 313 with 10 home runs in June. I mean, that's an incredible stretch. He had that 11-game stretch with 8 home runs. That's an amazing month, so he deserves a card that's this good. But to me, the thing that makes this card extra intriguing is that he can also play third base. So if you have a weakness at third base, let's say that you haven't gotten like the Mike Schmidt or the Chipper or somebody like that, and you just really need a good bat there, this Jesus Aguilar might be a guy that you might want to consider. Even though he is pretty expensive at 94,000 stubs, maybe that'll come down a little bit later on, but you know, like for a guy that only hits and doesn't play good defense and stuff, maybe you want to hold off on that. I don't know. It kind of depends on your stub situation and where you're at with first and third base. But overall, though, as a hitter, I'm grading this guy as a first baseman. So you know, most of my grade for first baseman comes almost purely from their hitting. A very small amount comes from their fielding and their speed and stuff like that. So he's obviously going to grade out great. The only issue with this card is that there have been, you know, Immortals just released. So when we look at these hitting stats, we're like, man, that would have been amazing back in April, but now it's July, and we have cards that have 125 everything, you know. And so that makes this card a little less special, especially for the price tag and the fact that the reward, that he's the most expensive reward going towards that Goldschmidt. And if you're going for the Goldschmidt, obviously you're not going to use this card. So I ended up giving him a fag of an 8.1 just by the nature of the position that he plays, but I really don't think that this card has that type of value in game, if that makes sense. Okay, after him we have the 85 overall Tyler Skaggs, and this card really just doesn't do it for me. It's not that interesting. It's just kind of solid all the way across. You know, it's not great at anything. His per nines are just kind of okay, like 73, 82. That's okay. Okay walk per nine. He's got okay stuff with like average pitch selection. Like that's not a very good card. And I mean, if this guy, if they gave him like maybe a slider or that two-seamer was a sinker. Maybe he threw like 3 miles per hour harder, or maybe he had like 80, like high 80s per nines or something like that. Then I could maybe start to get behind this card. But as it is, it's just a very, very, very average card. I don't think he's worth the price. I don't think he would be very good in your rotation. Really, the only thing that's special about this card is the fact that he's a lefty. So for those reasons, I ended up giving him a fag of a 6.2. Like I said, he is above average, but just barely. Like, this is a very, very just platonic card. I don't know the right word. It's just not an impressive card. By the way, I've been noticing that I'm saying very, very a lot. I think it's because I just like Donald Trump as our president, and he uses so many like adjectives and adverbs and stuff. I've really got to break that habit. It makes me sound really fucking stupid. So I'm going to stop doing that, or I'm going to try. I'll try very, very hard to stop saying that. But anyways, okay, moving on. We have the 83 overall Max Muncy, and I was put in a bit of a tight spot with this Max Muncy card because he has, you know, he's a first baseman, so I have to grade him as a first baseman because I said that I wasn't going to grade for secondaries and stuff like that. But this is one of those situations where I feel like I'm going to grade him as a first baseman, but because he can play a variety of different positions, I feel like I need to give him a bit of a bonus for that because obviously this Max Muncy playing second base is a lot different than the Max Muncy playing first base. It's way more valuable. So, for those reasons, I ended up giving him just like a slight little bump in his overall fag after I figured out what his total fag was. It was around about a half a point, so about 0.5. But so it wasn't that big or anything, but I felt like he deserved it just for the fact that if you put this guy at second base, he is going to have a lot more value. But the card itself, as a hitter, he's a lefty that hits righties really well. That's basically what he does. But then he's also not going to be completely incompetent versus lefties either. If you're good with your PCI, you can get your PCI there. He has that 79 power to you know, hit the ball out every now and then, get a few doubles here or there. So it's not that bad. He also has that 103 discipline, which I'm increasingly finding more important this year. Check swings happen a lot to me, so that discipline, sometimes I need to rely on it more than some other people. The obvious downside to this card is the fielding. He's not a very good fielder at all. He does have a little bit of speed with 63. That's actually pretty fast for a first baseman, but the defense isn't there. So if you're going to play him at first, defensively you'll be fine, but you might be lagging behind a little bit on hitting. And then if you play him at second base, you're going to have well above average hitting, but you're not going to really have the defense there. So it's kind of a catch-22. So for those reasons, I ended up giving him a fag of a 7.5. I feel like that's about right. I feel like this card is well above average, but not like a star or anything even close to that, really. All right, next up is the Juan Soto, the 82 overall. Obviously, this is a guy that's really burst onto the scene right there with, like, you know, Ronald Acuna and guys like that, a really impressive rookie type guys. And this is a solid card. Well, I say that. I mean, it's an above-average card, really. There's not a lot that stands out about it. It's almost a pure platoon card because against lefties, he's going to be great. 93, 91, that's great. The problem is that this is a lefty hitter. So, you know, I remember there was a Yogi Berra card last year that was kind of like this, that he didn't hit righties all that well, but he hit lefties really good. But Yogi Berra is a lefty, so that doesn't help you out a ton because a lot of people struggle lefty on lefty. So I've got to keep that in mind whenever I'm grading this card, that the side that he hits better isn't necessarily the side that you're going to hit better whenever you're using him in game. So that's a big downside to this card, in my opinion. Also, he doesn't really stand out in fielding. He's not the fastest guy in the world. And really, as a left fielder, most of his value is going to come from his bat. And the fact that he has those reverse splits as a lefty makes him really not very appealing, in my opinion. So I think it's an above average card, but I don't think it's all that great. So I ended up giving him a fag of a 6.4. After him, we have the 81 overall Zach Eflin, and this is worse than the Tyler Skaggs, to be honest. neither one of them are really all that impressive, but this one, I mean, per 9s on a gold card, 67, 61, that's just not going to cut it. Most of this card's value comes from, like, good walk per 9 and, like, decent home run per 9, which walk per 9 matters a good bit, but home run per 9 doesn't matter basically at all. And I don't know, he just doesn't do the right things well, basically, for it to translate to a good video game card. Just not a very solid card, man. Like, his stuff is okay. Like, he throws mid-90s, doesn't have a lot of movement on the fastball, though. And, you know, he's got some solid off-speed stuff, good slider, big slow curveball. Okay, changeup, 9-mile-per-hour delta on the changeup, that's okay. But really, I just can't get past those per 9s, man. Not for a gold card. It's just not a very usable pitcher. So yeah, I ended up giving him a fag of a 5.9. I actually do think that this card is slightly below average for cards that are going to be generally played at this time of the year. All right, and then the final reward for the month is the 92 overall Goldie, Paul Goldschmidt. And obviously he's a monster, but once again, man, we just got that Frank Thomas in. And it's like, this card is going to cost you like a couple 100,000 stubs to finish. And how many people out there, I mean, you'd have to be like a big-ass Diamondback fan or a big-ass Paul Goldschmidt fan to grab that Frank Thomas and then be like, yeah, you know what? I think I'd rather have the Goldie. I'd rather, you know, chunk out $200 and get this Goldie. I just don't see it really happening. I mean, but that doesn't take away from how good this card is, because it is a very good card. I just, golly, the Immortals and the like super good career arcs and stuff, it really depreciates the value of almost all the other cards in the game. It really does. It kind of sucks. But, yeah, so, like, obviously it's a great card. 194 versus righties, 87 versus 89 lefty. His vision is kind of concerning a little bit, but not too bad. Like, it's not going to be too bad, too big of an issue. Defensively, he's one of the best defensive first basemen in the game that I've seen. So that you have that 58 speed, pretty quick for a first baseman. So there's a lot going for this card, man, but there's just... I mean, they're just better first basemen out there, but that didn't keep me from giving him a very good score. I ended up giving him a fag of an 8.5. I feel like that's about right for him. Yeah, so let's move on to the All-Stars. Okay, for the All-Stars, I'm only going to be doing the Diamond guys that I think are relatively notable. The 85 overall Mark Melancon is the first guy, and this is a very intriguing card to me. He's always been very intriguing. He's not a guy that throws all that hard, but he's got a ton of movement on almost all of his pitches except for his four seam. I would kind of lay off the four seam just because he doesn't throw it that hard. It's not going to be that difficult of a pitch to hit. I would stick mostly cutter, knuckle curve, splitter. But he's got solid per 9s to back it up. Not phenomenal, but solid. And he's got pinpoint accuracy. Like, you're going to be able to paint with this card. So that's beautiful. That's a very good thing to have. His pitch selection is okay. Like I said, I would kind of take the four seam out and just stick cutter, knuckle curve, splitter. I kind of wish he had a sinker in there to go with it. But that's okay. You can get by with that. And, yeah, I think it's a solid overall card. Not a phenomenal reliever, but, you know, if it's a guy that you can get relatively easily, I think he's a guy that could do some good work in your bullpen. So for those reasons, I ended up giving him a fag of 7.7. Okay, the 93 overall Tony Gwynn, he is the All-Star Program reward at the very end. And a lot of people, man, you guys got on me for my Alomar grade. I'm going to explain that for just a second because this card is kind of similar to that Alomar. And I explained it some in the comments, but I feel like the value that you gain from things like fielding and things like speed are great bonuses, but that's not going to be what gets you most of your value in game. What gets you most of your value in game this year, the way the game is built, I hate that it works this way, but it just does, is power. That's where most of your value is going to come from. I said in a comment that, you know, like if you have 100 power or something like that, that you can expect that to add maybe like 0.7, 0.8 runs per game to your average score. Like if you have that guy in your lineup, that's how much it will get you. While good defense, good speed, and all that, it might add, like if they have 99 everything across the board, fielding, arm strength, speed, all of that, it might add like maybe 0.3 maybe per game. On a per game basis, and then if you have good contact to go with that, maybe it adds another 0.2. And that's over the entire game. That power, just 100 power, can add like 0.7, 0.8 runs per game, while all that other stuff combined still doesn't meet that threshold. So that's why I feel that power really is that important, and if you don't have it, it is going to significantly affect your grade. That being said, I do think that this Tony Gwynn is still a really good card, as I did with that Alomar. I even think that this Gwynn is even a little bit better because he hits both sides very well. He has phenomenal contact. He basically gets perfect scores on the contact front, but then he loses a lot of points from the power. He loses a lot, I can't lie. But then he gets a lot of it back, though, with the great fielding, the great arm, and the great speed. I mean, this card is going to do everything exceptionally well except hit for power. And Tony Gwynn has always kind of been... There was one year, I think it was 2016, where you could get by with like 50-plus power, and there was a Tony Gwynn card that had like 55 power or something like that. And it ended up being one of the better cards in the game, because you could work with that. You know, you could work with that 50 power, and you got all the other bonuses that went along with it. But this year with 36 power, the fact that it's so important, I have to dock him a good bit for that. So after that long-winded explanation and all that, I ended up giving him a fag of a 7.4. Okay, next up we have the 95 overall Andre Dawson, and this is a great example of a guy that is very similar to the Tony Gwynn in every single respect except for power and what it can do to your value. This card right here, if he had Tony Gwynn's power and stuff, would be, you know, about the same score as that Tony Gwynn. But because he adds that power into his arsenal of weapons, it makes him just so much better. Makes him such a better card than that Tony Gwynn. And I mean, this guy is a true 5-tool stud. He really is. Versus lefties, you're going to be murdering the ball, 94, 96. Versus righties, he's very competent, 83 to 75 with 90 vision. Your PCI is always going to be really big. And then fielding, he's a better fielder than that Gwynn. He's fantastic in the field. He's got a cannon of an arm, which is always nice to have in center field or in right field. And then he's got blazing speed to go along with it. 86 stealing, 83 speed. There's just so much to love about this card, and yet I'm still kind of disappointed in it, if I'm honest. Because last year, in my opinion, it was arguable that the best non-Pepe Alazar card in the game was Andre Dawson. I preferred the Andre Dawson over the Mike Trout, and that was simply because his hitting was a little bit better than it is this year. Everything else was basically the same. But this year, the fact that they kind of nerfed him a little bit versus righties, and the fact that we have Immortals this year, which kind of, you know, surpass a lot of these guys, that makes it just a tough pill to swallow that Andre Dawson isn't going to be one of the better cards in the game, just because I loved playing with him last year. But still, it's a great card. It's probably the best card that I've reviewed so far, and I ended up giving him a fag of an 8.8. Alrighty, next up we have the 92 overall Jose Bautista, and you know, this is the event reward that you get for the Moonshot event, and my God, like, this is one of the, I mean, I don't think you could ask for a better event reward just for getting like a certain amount of wins or whatever. Like, this is almost an immortal level card. Like, hitting wise, it's just below that, really. And the thing that I really love about this card is how versatile it is. It can play anywhere in the outfield, third or first base. That's incredibly valuable. And he can murder the ball. 80, 98 righty, 102, 108 lefty. Phenomenal. 66 vision. Not bad at all. Fielding wise, he's not going to be the rangiest guy in the world, but he does have that cannon of an arm. It's all, and you know, he doesn't have the speed to go along with it, so he's really not going to have great range. But you know, pop up to right field or like ground ball to third base or something like that where you need a strong arm to make a throw, this is going to be your man. He's got a cannon of an arm to go with phenomenal hitting and all that. And being graded as a right fielder, the three things that really matter the most is contact, power, and arm strength, and that's what this guy excels in. So he's got a very good fag because of that. I ended up giving this card a fag of an 8.3. I feel like that's right. I feel like maybe I could have gone a little bit higher, or I don't know, maybe a point or two lower, but I don't know. I feel like that was kind of the sweet spot for him. But it was kind of a tough card to grade, though, because he just excelled at all the things that really matter for this position. Plus, he's very versatile, so I had to take that into account too. But I didn't want to overgrade him either, because if I got too aggressive, I could have gone like crazy and given him like a 9.2 or something when I know he's not that valuable. So yeah, I feel like that's about right. 8.3, that's about right. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this card. I like it though. Okay, then on to the ticket counter rewards. The first one is the 85 overall Jonathan Lucroy. Nothing really all that special, nothing to see here. I mean, he's a guy that has good contact, decent fielding. He's a catcher, so you've got that. But then he doesn't have a lot of power. He's just got okay power. It's not a great card. It's not a terrible card or anything like that. So I ended up giving him a fag of a 6.2. I feel like that's really all that needs to be said about this card. Let's move on. Okay, and then we have the 87 overall Sean Green, and this is a card that has great hitting, but he actually lost quite a bit of points because as a right fielder, arm strength is very important, and fielding is pretty important too, and he lost a lot of points because of that. He's no better than like an average fielder. So yeah, that hitting is not going to be as valuable for a card like this. I'm just trying to let you guys know like the balance that I try to strike whenever I'm grading these cards. But that's not to say this card isn't a great hitter. He's got 80 power or contact versus right, 91 power, 69 versus left, 85 power. Not bad. 73 vision. It's a nice little power bat, but you are going to have to sacrifice some defense to get it. He is on the ticket counter, so he's pretty cheap. And I think that this card is perfect for a guy that is trying to build like kind of a low diamond budget squad type thing. You know, you can get some good power in right field for very cheap, and all you got to do is sacrifice a little bit of defense. You can also play him at first or left, which is always nice. And yeah, so it's a solid little card overall, but nothing too special, nothing to write home about. And I ended up giving him a fag of a 7.3. Okay, and then finally we have the 86 overall Adam Wainwright, the last card of the day. And man, I love Adam Wainwright cards. I almost have a borderline fetish for Adam Wainwright cards, so my grading may be a little biased here. I don't know. I liked him last year. I liked him the year before that. I just love these guys that are kind of finesse pitchers, but they still have like this power element behind them. Like they have like this really good mix of fastballs. Like they have the four seam, they have the big time sinker, the good cutter to throw in there, slow curveball. There's just something that's really fun about them. They're just fun to pitch with. The big downside to this card, though, obviously, is the lack of per nines. He doesn't have great hit per nine. He doesn't have great K per nine. And that's a problem because your opponents are going to have pretty big PCIs at this point in the year whenever we're talking about like the Immortals and stuff like that. So you're going to really have to hit your spots well. Luckily, he does have that 91 walk per nine to go along with it, so you will be able to hit your spots fairly well. But sometimes opponents are just going to beat this card just because he doesn't have the per nines to be that top shelf kind of pitcher. But the fact that he has some of the best pitch selection in the game, he's got really good secondary stuff, makes this card very usable in my opinion. It's not as good as the Adam Wainwrights that I've had in the past, but I still think it's a very usable card. And for those reasons, I ended up giving it a fag of a 7.5. The more I look at that, the higher I feel like I went a little too high. So I'm actually going to revise that. I'm going to rescore his per nines, and I'm going to give him a 7.1. I feel like a 7.1 is about right for him. I think it's an above average card, well above average, but it's not as good as the Wainwrights of the past, so I can't grade them like the Wainwrights of the past. So yeah, guys, that is going to do it for this player review. It was a bit of a long one, a bit long-winded. I got lots of players to review, lots of fun players, and yeah, I'm gonna the next review that I do will be the Immortal review. We will be going over every single Immortal that is out in the game right now, including, have I done the Vlad yet? Have I reviewed the Vlad yet? I forget. Let me know in the comments, those of you who've been keeping up with the reviews like pretty consistently, let me know if I've reviewed this Vladimir Guerrero. I'd really appreciate it. If I have, cool, you know, whatever, but if I haven't, I'll throw him in there as well. And yeah, we're gonna be getting all these guys and reviewing them and stuff, so exciting times, guys. Yeah, I will see you guys later, though. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you're new, please sub. Always gotta say that. And anyways, yeah, see you guys. Peace.